it? Streamy? Get the joke?
I get it.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
I know.
okay,
I was,
okay.
okay.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Mute the mic for a second.
All right, cool. All right, let me get some music to play in the background. All right, so let's do this. You guys let me know if the audio is okay, the music's not too loud or whatever.
I will wait for you to figure this out.
All right, cool. All right, so this is what it looks like when you open Zbrush. This is 4R7 patch 3. All right, so the first thing you will notice is this big bar here at the top. This is basically called your light box, which is right here. So you can turn it on and off. This has like preloaded projects. You can see there's like a dog, a fat guy, some robots. Tools, they give you basic tools you can start off with. So you have like a basic human male mesh, there's a dog here, skeleton, etc. You can also access like your quick saves, so projects you've been working on, it'll automatically save them as you're working, just in case it does crash it. You'll have like a backup. Then you can also find like alphas, brushes. ZBrush has a bunch of different brushes that you can access through here. So normally when I first start, I always hide this, and then you will see this is our workspace, this little box here. Right now it's not formatted to my actual screen because my Cintiq is a lot wider. So to fix this, you just go up here to Preferences, and right at the top where it says Initialize ZBrush, you click that. It'll give you this little warning, just click yes. It'll go ahead and fit that to my workspace screen. So now I have as large as it can go. Alright, so before we get started, you can see the background. It's kind of got like this gradient here. I usually don't like that. I want it to be one solid color. It just helps me see silhouette a little bit better. So to do that, you just go up here to Document. Then down here you'll see this little slider called Range. Just slide it all the way to the left. And that'll get it gray for you. Okay. The next thing I do, you'll see here where this red little sphere is, it's your material rollout. Basically just click that and it'll pull out a whole ton of materials you can choose from. I usually don't use the red just because when I'm carving into things I can't see the depth of what I'm carving that well. So you can either start with like a basic material. A lot of times I'll use this white cavity. So let's just click that. Is anybody using ZBrush right now, like along with me? Choose the rainbow one. Yeah, the rainbow one is just a normal map, but it is kind of funky. Okay. So it's okay, we'll record this, so if you ever pick up ZBrush, you can just go back to YouTube or Twitch or whatever. Yeah, it is expensive. Alright, so I'm gonna undock this little plugin up at the top here because we don't need it. Alright, now when you're creating something in 3D with ZBrush, there's a bunch of different ways that you can approach it that'll get you kind of the same area. It's just on your preference. One way to sculpt is simply to start with a sphere and go from there. Another way is using what's called Z-spheres. You basically can build out an armature of a mesh and then sculpt on top of that. So I'll show you the first one. To make a sphere, basically you see this S at the top right hand corner. Click that, and you'll see that it gives us a bunch of different shapes we can choose from. So I'll click a sphere. You see nothing happened. What you have to do is click and drag it out on your screen. Go ahead and let go of that. I still can't work on this yet. If I try to click on the screen again, I'll just make another sphere, and so on and so forth. To clear this, you just hit Control-N, which is just new. Just draw a sphere out. So up at the top, you'll see this little thing called Edit Object. Click that. we can just say that we don't own any of this music. That's how you get around it.
YouTube will mute it, and then your tutorial won't have it if you talk.
They're telling me I need to turn the music off. Fine, I'll turn it off.
Or put on, you know, Monster Cat or something.
Monster Cat? Okay.
Or I'll just sing in the background.
Dion, you'll sing for me? Okay. Max just told me I can't play music. So get mad at Max. Mad Max. Okay, anyway. So we have edit turned on. Now you can see when I click on the background, we are rotating this sphere. Let me turn on the polyframe. So polyframe right here, you'll see, just shows you like a wireframe mode of whatever object you have, so you can see what it's made of. Okay. So here's our sphere. To the right hand side, I'll turn the floor on. So this way you can kind of get a sense of up and down and space. So there's our floor grid. Now with this grid, it defaults to like this green. I don't really like that because if you're looking under something and you're trying to sculpt, you get like this green haze. So I want to make it transparent, and in order to do that, you just go up here to Draw and Fill Mode, and you just slide that all the way back to 0, and now it's transparent. Yeah, copyrights. Okay, so the next thing I'll do is turn on local symmetry, and I'll tell you what that does. So whenever you have symmetry, symmetry is basically working on both sides of this object at the same time. So the hotkey for that is X. So now you can see there's two little dots. So that means my symmetry is turned on, and it defaults to the X axis. So that's what we're on right now, the X. You also have the Z, which is this way, and then Y, which is up and down. Okay. Local symmetry. If I move this object, hold on. Let me demonstrate. So before I can work on this sphere, I have to turn it into a Polymesh 3D, which we'll just click that really quick. It's up here at the right under our tool. Okay. Now I'll just move this out of the way. So when I turn symmetry on now, you can see my dot isn't there anymore, my two dots. That's because one of them is over here on the other side of this grid. So if we turn local on, you can see that it's now on the other side. So it'll actually center to whatever object you have. Okay. So that's one thing I turn on, and then perspective I'll turn on as well. Okay. Nickelback, yeah. Okay. So as for the controls of ZBrush, it's different from a lot of 3D programs, and it kind of throws people off in the beginning. So just to rotate the screen, I'm just using my left click on the mouse. You can see I'm just rotating around. To move an object from one side of your screen to another, you click Alt and you hold Alt and then just left click. While you're holding the left click button, you can move it back and forth, up and down, etc. So those two are pretty easy. The zoom, however, is kind of what gets people. It does take some getting used to. It took me a lot to get used to it because I was using 3ds Max, like that's what I learned in school. So in order to zoom, you have to click Alt, then you have to left click the screen. While holding down the left click, you let go of Alt. Okay? And now when I move my mouse up and down, I can zoom. And I'm continuously holding the left click. So once you get used to it, though, it's really fast and it's second nature. If you just can't get the controls but you still want to do your thing, over here to the right, you'll see there are the same options. So you have move. You just click on it. You can move it, scale it, and then rotate as well. If your object ever gets lost in your screen, like say if I just shoot it out of the way and I just can't find it, there's this little button here called frame. So it'll actually relocate the object for you and fit it in your window. So trust me, you end up losing objects more than you think sometimes, especially if you have a ton of different objects and you are messing with your transform tools. So, okay, so we've got this sphere, and let's just say you've got the controls down, you're ready to start sculpting. You'll see over here we have a little pull-out called brushes. Click it, and you see it gives us a ton of different brushes we can use to sculpt with. Okay, and I recommend trying them all out. Every single one does something different. There's even more hidden, in this light box under the brush panel. You can find even more brushes. So definitely experiment with those. You'll find some really cool stuff. So for now, we're just going to start with a few brushes, because really when I sculpt, I only use just like a set few. I don't use half of these things. I'll use standard, clay buildup, dam standard, just to name a few, but really not a whole lot. Mainly about 4 or 5, to be honest. Instead of searching through all of these, they all have hotkeys. So say if I want to find dam standard, which is right here, instead of having to squint and hunt through these, I just type in D, and that'll isolate every brush that starts with a D, and then S, so for standard. And then there it is, I have dam standard. If I just want to find clay buildup, it's C and B for clay buildup. There it is. So you'll see in a lot of my streams, I rarely will use this. You'll kind of just see it happen really quick, like that. And that's just me shifting through brushes. So it really speeds up time. You'll notice a lot of people with ZBrush, they'll customize their user interface, which you can do. I typically don't, just because I know all these hotkeys. And they'll put brushes and materials and stuff all around just so they can quickly touch. But I find I can type faster than I can actually move my pen all the way down to the bottom of the screen to touch a thing. So it's all in your preference. So to sculpt, I recommend using like a tablet, like a stylus with a stylus, whether it's a bamboo tablet or like a Cintiq. I started sculpting with a mouse, like I did that for years, and you can do it. Um, it just takes a lot longer, and it can be frustrating. The pressure sensitivity on these guys helps out a lot, and you can pull some really nice details um, really quickly with these. So if you are planning on going this route and becoming like a 3D artist or digital sculptor or whatnot, definitely look into getting one of these. Even though they are expensive, it's worth it. Go to Craigslist, you can probably find one cheap. All right. So to sculpt, basically you'll see up here we've got a whole bunch of different controls. We've got add, subtract, we've got an intensity slider, we've got RGB, which is your color, we've got M, which is your material, which is these guys here, and then MRGB is both of them combined, pretty much. The focal shift, basically what this means, it affects the sharpness of your brush. So if you want a more organic stroke, turn your focal shift in the positive range. If you want more hard surface, turn it to the negative. It'll give you a sharper edge. So, and then the draw size, of course, is just how big your brush is. So instead of going up here all the time to affect these controls, because you will affect those, you'll have to use these controls a lot. The hotkey is the spacebar. So you see when I press that, it gives me a menu. It shows you a color wheel, and then pretty much all of the same options I have at the top of the screen are right in front of me. So very convenient. Now if you're hovering over the mesh itself and press the spacebar, depending on what brush you have, sometimes it won't pop up. For instance, if I have the Z Modeler brush, if I press the spacebar over it, it gives me a whole different thing. So just be aware of that. Alright, now to sculpt. Basically, the way ZBrush works is it subdivides these meshes, which this is called a mesh, until you can actually pull detail. So the higher this number, the more detail you're going to get. Depending on what kind of computer you have, just varies. Depends on how high you can get this number. I'm not saying the higher the better, but if you want a whole lot of detail, you need to have it very dense mesh. So we are going to first subdivide this sphere so we can get some detail. If I try to sculpt on it right now, you can see how like choppy and chunky it is, and we don't want that. So to subdivide, you go over here to your drop down menu under geometry. See there's this divide button. Just hit it, and you can see we increased it to 32,000 active points. Now the hotkey for that is just Control D, so I can keep hitting it. You'll see that number at the top keeps jumping. I'll probably just take it to 2 million. That should be good enough. So now when I do a stroke, you can see how smooth that is. Okay. Alright. Now, whenever you are, let's drop it down a little bit. Whenever you're sculpting, the trick is to get whatever you're making, you want to get the silhouette down first. After that, then you can start going in and doing all the details and subdivisions and all that fun stuff. So what we'll do, I'm just going to delete all these subdivisions. and we'll just start making something. What would you guys like me to make? We can make whatever you want. We can do a big dragon head or something. I don't know. Dragon? Okay. Okay, cool. We'll just do a dragon head then. Alright, so with the dragon on top. Alright, so the tool I use to get my silhouette is the move brush. So I just type B for brush, and then I type M and V, and that automatically pulls up my move brush. So if I want to do another brush, you just hit B for brush, and then just type in the quick key for your, and you'll have to learn these eventually. So clay buildup, CV, etc. Alright, so I'll start with my move brush, and basically this just allows you to move this mesh however you want in a big chunky fashion. Okay. Sloth. Make MJ. Yeah, I'm sure he'd love that. Okay. Maybe one day. Maybe we'll have him as like a bonus character. That'd be hilarious. Okay. So I might just turn perspective off for right now. And then we'll so you'll see that I'm snapping this grid. You can see how it becomes a straight line. Sometimes you can get kind of lost when you're first starting with these navigating in Zbrush. Just to snap to a certain location, you just hit shift and then click on the back of the screen. So I'll give you a point of reference. So we've got this line, right? So I can look at it from the top. If I want to be directly on top, I just hold shift. So if I'm like this, shift, bottom, shift, and so on and so forth. And this can be really helpful when you're sculpting, just to kind of get things completely centered. It's like an orthographic view if you've used any other programs. Okay. All right. So for our dragon, the move brush. I always sculpt very loosely, so bear with me. All my stuff looks like crap when I first start. Okay. Do we want to do the mouth open or closed? Let's do it open. Why not? Okay, so we can just shape out a skull. And what's really nice about ZBrush is it's very organic. Like you don't have to sit there and squint at verts and lines. It's basically just like clay sculpting. So you can just take this big ball of clay and just kind of manipulate it however you like. Okay. I'm going to draw some reference points for the eyes. Actually, we can do a bunch of eyes if you want. Do 2 eyes, 4 eyes. Now you can see here, as I'm pushing and pulling these polygons, you see stuff starts to get stretched. So if I do this and I try to, let's say, subdivide it and then try to sculpt on it, you can see my details are going to be really pixelated and crappy. Now, to undo something is Control Z. Sorry, I should have told you guys that before. It's just like every other program ever, Control Z. You also see at the top here, we've got a history bar. So you can actually grab this little slider and scrub it all the way back to the very beginning. Yeah. And what's nice about Zbrush compared to a lot of programs is it doesn't seem like it has a limit to how many steps you can do. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So that's kind of, you can Control Z to your heart's desire if you want to. You can also work in layers with Zbrush, which I typically don't, but I do know a lot of people that do. So they treat it like Photoshop. So they'll do some edits to something and save it as a layer, and then work like that. I don't. I just kind of go with it. I try to. I don't know the entire program completely because it is a massive program, but I try to just keep it as close to natural sculpting as I can, because that's kind of how I first started getting into this. Is I was a traditional sculptor, and then I kind of moved into 3D. And Zbrush was a good fit because it's very natural. So the less technical stuff, the better for me anyway. All right, so I want to even these polygons out, right? Say if I add like some horns too. See how stretched those polys get? Yeah, that's not good. So if we want to even them out, basically you go to your geometry dropdown and you'll want to look for Dynamesh. So what Dynamesh does is it basically calculates the distance between all of these verts, and it's going to subdivide them and try to make them as closely even as possible. And once you do this, Dynamesh introduces triangles, which is fine. It's fine to sculpt on, just eventually, you know, you'll have to either retopologize it or like Z-remesh it, something like that. But you'll see under Dynamesh, we've got polish, groups, etc. For now, we're just going to keep it a traditional Dynamesh. We'll probably turn the resolution up just a little bit and see what we get. So we'll do that. All right, so you can see what it did, and this slider might have gone too high because right now we're at 280,000. So let me Control Z. Let's Dynamesh it around like 120. See what that does. Okay, that's fine. So you can see it evened out all of our polys, but it did introduce some triangles here and there. However, when we do subdivide this, turn polyframe off, we now can get just a ton of detail, and it's not all choppy. Okay. All right. Get rid of those little horn things. And so this method is kind of what you do whenever you start from a sphere in order to get your shape down. You basically push and pull these polys and then Dynamesh it to even it out. Push and pull polys, Dynamesh again, and so on and so forth until you're happy. Once you're happy with your shape, then you can subdivide it and start adding your details and go from there. So let's start messing with this guy a little bit. We can just make a dragon. do like a neck or something too. Okay, that looks like crap.
Dynamesh mode right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to be dynameshing. Now, to smooth, you can see how I'm smoothing these out. Basically, you just hold shift. You'll see the little ring turns blue, and you can just smooth it out. When you hold shift, you see your intensity slider. You can adjust how much you want to smooth something. You can also turn RGB on and off too. So if I have this guy painted and I need to smooth something, if RGB is selected, it'll start blurring my colors together as well. So you'll probably turn that off if you have it painted, which you can paint in this program as well. Okay, so let's just give him a okay. Alright, so I'll go ahead and dynamesh it. That's too much. Let's go down a little bit. Yeah, 35,000 looks okay. And I can smooth that out a little bit. Now with Dynamesh highlighted, while it's highlighted, if I want to Dynamesh again, like say if I pull this out, all you have to do is hold Control and then just swipe on the back of your screen, and it'll Dynamesh it for you. So that way you don't have to keep going all the way over here and Dynameshing it. That being said, when you're done with Dynameshing, you want to make sure you turn this off. Okay. Okay. How do you turn off Dynamesh? Just by clicking it. See where it's that orange yellow, that orange box. Just click it and that turns it off. Yeah. Okay. So, start messing with this guy. And then a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take the damn standard brush and kind of make like, let me turn the intensity down. I'll make reference marks just so I know what to go by. So I'll kind of carve out a little jaw, sternocleidomastoid, I'll kind of do a little reference for those as well. Um, yeah, same for the eyes, you can start. Okay. Smooth that out a little bit. I think the game will be released in 2017. Yeah, they don't tell me anything. I'm just a lowly modeler, so they don't like share any kind of game or beta or any info with me at all. So all they do is basically say, here, make this, and I make it, which is fun. I mean, okay. But I do know everybody's working really hard, and I know they're pretty much killing it, They're getting a lot done. So they've been putting in some good hours. And let's see, I'm just gonna carve in this really quick, and I'll Dynamesh it one more time. That looks fine. Like I said, this thing won't look anything like this once I'm done with it. It's just they all start off like crap. So you'll have to bear with me. Alright, let's see. Just do some reference for that. Okay, so we'll do this really quickly. Like I said, I'm keeping everything really loose, and just kind of sculpting it. Again, this point I don't want to put any like major details because I'm going to Dynamesh it again. Whenever you Dynamesh, you know, you'll lose a little bit of detail unless you crank it up all the way. But okay, let me Dynamesh that again. Smooth out some of this. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that should be okay. Alright, so I'll turn Dynamesh off, and then I will subdivide a couple times, Control D, 3 million should be fine. And this is just the vert count. If you actually want to see the poly count, you just go under Subtool, hover over it, and you'll see that it'll tell you polys, points, hidden, if there's any hidden stuff. Alright, so this is the subtool dropdown. It's located right above geometry. This allows you to have multiple objects on one scene. So say if I want to add some spheres for his eyes, I can do that. Some teeth, some spikes, things like that. I'll usually keep those as separate objects just because they're easier to sculpt on if they're separated. So I will show you how to do that. Basically what I'll do is I'll go down here to Append. Once you click Append, you'll see it gives you a whole drop down like we saw earlier when we clicked on the S. So Append, and we'll do a sphere. So there's my sphere. Now I'm still highlighted on this dragon head, so I will click on the sphere. Another way to do it on screen, instead of having to go over here all the time, is just to hold Alt, and click on the object. So this will allow you to toggle between the two. Sometimes if they're really close, you'll have to kind of hit it at an angle. Well, there we go. Sometimes you have to double tap it. Alright, now if I want to move this thing, you'll see at the top here we've got Move, Scale, and Rotate. If I click Move, you'll see it pops up this little, I don't know what you call it, gizmo. I can draw it out wherever I want. I want to snap it, so I'll hold Shift, and that completely puts it on a horizontal axis. If I do it vertically, hold Shift, it'll snap. If I rotate while holding Shift, you can see it does 15-degree increments. So I'll just do it horizontally. I'll show you, this is solo mode. So if I click solo, like if I don't want to see this dragon guy anymore, I want to focus completely on this eye, I just go down here, hit solo. So now I just see the eye. So you'll see there's 3 different circles. If I click on the red part, you can see I can manipulate this sphere by stretching it. Same for this side. If I click on this one, it does like a cut to it. If I do the middle, that's actually what moves the object around this on the scene. If I click on this outside of that red circle, that just controls the gizmo itself. So you just want to make sure if you're trying to move the gizmo, you grab that. Okay. For this one, I want to scale it down. Get out of solo. I'm going to scale it down to the size of an eye. So we'll just scale him down a bit. Let me move over. Now the hotkeys for these, W is move, E is scale, and R is rotate. And of course draw would be Q, so they keep them all together. Q, W, E, and R. Okay, so I'm going to scale it down, size of an eye. And we'll just place that in there. Okay. Alright, and I want to make another one to put in this other slot as well. So, come back down here to Subtool, and you hit Duplicate. So now you see we've got a cloned copy, and it's in the same spot. So we'll just move it to where this other eye is. Okay. Alright, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep all the eyes together. Sock puppet. Alright, so the less subtools you have, the better. I mean, you can have a ton of subtools, but you know, if you have too many, it can slow you down. It'll start chugging, and you know, each subtool has its own subdivision levels. Each subtool has its own history as well, which I like. So I can go to dinosaur. You can see how many history steps are up here at the top compared to, you know, this eyeball, which only has 2 steps. So each one has its own, which is really convenient. But for these two, I'm just going to merge them together. So I'll go down here under merge, which is still in the subtool palette, and then just hit, make sure I'm on the top one, and just hit merge down. It'll give you a warning, which I'll just hit always OK. So now they are both combined under one. Okay. Alright. So now I want to get these eyes on this side of our mesh. Okay. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to duplicate the eyes. Then I'm going to go up here to Z plugin. Over this little guy on the left, I'm just going to click it, and that docks it to your right. I'm going to go to Subtool Master, and then I'm going to go to Mirror. So I click Mirror. It'll say merge into one subtool or append as a new subtool, and then it'll tell you which axis. So I want it on the x-axis, and I'll keep them all. I'll keep all the eyes as one subtool just to keep it easy. So I'll just click OK, and there it is. So now we've got all of our eyes, just like that. Sorry, I guess I didn't have to duplicate it. My bad. Let me delete that one. There we go. Alright, so now we've got eyes. We can do the same thing with teeth and spikes as well. So it just makes it really easy. Once I put some spheres here, I'll just leave those alone for now, and I'll start sculpting and roughening out like the eyelids. That's usually what I start with, getting the eyes done first. But you'll notice when I sculpt, I usually don't stay on one particular area for too long because you get burned out on it. So I'll work a little bit on the face, and then I'll run back here to the back of the neck or something like that and work on it. And I'll come and do the eyes or something. Just keeps it fresh. Alright, so we'll start with the ice. So a lot of times what I'll do, you don't want to flush out a lot of these shapes, because I'm still in silhouette mode, but you don't want to flush out a lot of these shapes when you're in your highest subdivision, and I'll show you why. So say if I start just drawing out some stuff, if I try to smooth this out while I'm in my highest subdivision level, it takes forever. See that? Like I can't get rid of that crease. So I have to drop down to a lower subdivision level, smooth it out, and then come back up. Yeah, but a lot of times if you do that, it'll leave like a little residue on there, so you'll have to like smooth out every single subdivision level. So it's easier just to establish all of these shapes in the beginning from like, you know, step 2 or 3, just depending on how many times you've subdivided this mesh. Okay, so we'll start with the eyes. I'll just do like a damn standard. Well, no, I'll do a clay buildup. So clay buildup is good just for just slapping clay on this guy. So you can do like some eyelids, you know, really easy. So you can make an angry dragon. Okay. Okay. And again, it's good just to be loose. Keep everything really loose. I see so many people like focus on getting like the perfect stroke, and it just takes them forever. But I find if you keep everything loose and flowy, it just, your sculpt comes out much more natural. Especially when you're doing like organic shapes like wrinkles and stuff like that. So we'll draw out some tear ducts. You know, keep it simple. I also will rotate this guy so you can see how that tear duct is pushing out. So what I want to do is push that back in. Might drop down to even lower. And this brush is just form soft. So with these brushes, every brush is basically 2 brushes. So you see when I stroke across this mesh with form soft, it's in its additive mode. I can also do a subtractive of that. So if I hit sub, it actually carves into the mesh. So the hotkey to toggle back and forth between these is just Alt. So you see when I hover over it, you see that little minus sign right near my inner red circle? That tells you what's subtractive. So you can do them both really quickly. Okay. So for this guy, I'm just gonna push that temple in a little bit, and I'll smooth it out. Bad guys never cry. Nice. Okay. Alright. So we can start sculpting out some of this stuff. And then also, if there's like any questions you guys have, just feel free to throw them up. Because I'll try to look at the comments as much as I can. So. I also use this brush, pinch. I'll usually turn the intensity down a little bit, but basically it'll actually just help you pinch an end. So that way you don't have to sit there and try to like adjust the size constantly of your stroke. Okay. All right. So really quickly, I'll just I'll teach you guys some new stuff. So um, say I'm finished sculpting with this guy, right? I'm happy with him. You know, the silhouette looks good. I'm ready to do details. Um, let's see. We have this thing called alphas. You'll see them right here underneath the stroke. Basically what they do is they give you like an imprint of shapes. How long would it take you to do this as a clay model? Depends on how big it is and what material I'm using. If you're using wet clay or something like that, you can sculpt pretty quickly. Zbrush, however, is way faster just because symmetry, you know, and Control Z. It's always helpful. So to get to this stage where we're at right now, even though it hasn't taken me but a few minutes, to do this in clay would probably take you anywhere from half an hour to an hour, something like that, just depending on how fast you are. Alright, what was I doing again? Oh yeah, alphas. So I'll show you what an alpha does. So this stroke panel, click it and it'll give you some options. We'll do this drag rectangle, and this is mainly what I use for alphas or textures. Basically it will apply it to your mesh. So say if I'm doing scales or something like that, instead of sitting there and sculpting every single scale, this is how we apply that kind of detail. So any movies or video games you've seen where you see all these little tiny details like pores and stuff like that, this is how it's done. We use alphas. Okay, minds of objects. Yeah, okay, so this guy right now, he's way too dense to be put in a game. He is over 3 million polygons. So if we zoom in, you can see how many polys he is. So he's a lot. While I'm at this point, I'll show you guys something. So say I have a mesh completely filling my workspace and I want to zoom out. I can't because I'm on the mesh. You can always use this little scale thing on the side as well. Or you can see that there's this border around here. See, there's this like thin gray line. If you just click on that border and do your zoom, it'll get you back where you want. Or you can simply just hit the frame button. So you can frame them. Just so you know, if y'all ever get stuck zoomed in real close on something. Okay, so yeah, he can't be put into a game right now. He's way too dense. So what you have to do is retopologize it. Basically, you draw out polygons on top of this mesh at a very lower state, and then project this high poly onto the low poly. I know that sounds like a foreign language to a lot of people, but yeah, that's the process. So yeah, for something like this, if it was like a statue or something, we would probably want it, maybe like, depending on how big it is in the game. If it's small, maybe like a couple hundred polys. If it's big, maybe like a couple thousand polys. Definitely not 3 million. So, alright, let's see. The model that you have to do, your colleagues also have to do it too. The best version is chosen after. Yeah, decimation as well, but decimation, mm, it's introduces triangles and you don't really get a good flow. Yeah, you just reduce the poly a lot. So say I'm finished sculpting this guy, and I get the low poly done. I would then pass him off to Dion, who would unwrap it and apply the paint and the materials. Um, that would be our pipeline. Or I would do the materials, since I just learned how to use Substance. So yeah, I could easily paint him um, in ZBrush. And I can show you guys real quick. I'll load up something. I don't know, hold on, how do I do that? So I'll show you a quick paint. Let's go to desktop. Okay, so here's an example. Select him of a game character, one that's in our going to be in our game. You can see the polygons. Right now he is at, let's see how many polys he is. 3,287 polys for this sphere bog. That's his low poly. When I turn his high poly on, he is now 12,726,000. So you can zoom in and see kind of his polys. Okay, but this guy was painted in ZBrush, sculpted in ZBrush. So if you want to see just the texture, I can just change the material to a flat color. So this is just the paint. And this is a mixture. It's hand painted, as well as it's got some alpha work done to it, you know, right through here, just some simple alphas applied. So yeah. Yeah, basically, depending on your map size, that's how much of this detail you'll actually get. So a lot of the newer games, like AAA games, you'll see they'll use like a 4K map, which you'll get a lot of detail. Some games will use 2K maps as well, it just depends. So yeah, all this sculpted information will turn into a map, and it'll actually be projected onto this surface. Yep. And so that'll get rid of all that like blocky stuff. It'll actually fool your eye. So for this guy, you can see if I subdivide everything high, and I turn on all of his subtools, you can see he's made up of a bunch of different subtools. So if I click, you know, he's got his shorts as well as these guys. They're all separated here, so I can work on them individually. Same for the eyes. Yeah, okay. And you can basically toggle before him. And these eyes, you can turn them on and off. So if I click the eye, now all we see are these little gems. Turn it back on. If I don't have one of these selected and I click it, it'll actually hide it. See? So you can just select a certain cluster of subtools and work on them without having this big thing in your way. Okay, so we'll go back to this guy. Okay. That was TDD. Yeah, it's a fear bog. Okay. Yeah, so I showed you alphas. So that was alphas. You can also do textures. So we'll do these jelly beans. So I will turn add off and I'll turn RGB on, and we'll basically just drag it out. And so there's your jelly beans. A lot of the characters you see in games now, um, you know, especially people, they'll actually just be stickers of, you know, actual people just slapped on. Like they'll take somebody's eyes, somebody's lips, and then slap them on just to make a unique character. Uh, Although a lot of the games now are kind of steering away from that, and they're using like a lot of the new PBR stuff and just a really nice sculpt in order to get that. Like Uncharted, you know, like if you ever see them and their sculpts, they do really well. So they use like subsurface scattering and good lighting, so they look really natural. Alright. Start sculpting some of this stuff out. Okay, I will go ahead and let me show you something else. Jelly bean dragon. I'll duplicate these eyes. I'm going to make horns out of these. So I only want 2 of them. I don't want 4. So what I'll do is I'll turn polyframe on. You can see they're green and they're red. Basically what this means is they're polygroups. So if I control and shift, click on one of them, the other ones disappear. So I can completely work on this by itself without the other ones getting in the way. To get them back, I just control, shift, and click off the screen, and they'll pop them back. So I can toggle back and forth between these guys. What I want to do, I want to make these 2 their own polygroup and these 2 their own polygroup. So to do that, I will just hit Control W. That turns them all into 1 polygroup. And then I will just hold Control and drag over these 2 guys. Now that they're masked, that's what this is. This is called a mask. A mask is good for like isolating specific areas to work on or not to work on. So I have this mask. If I sculpt and then clear the mask, you can see that area wasn't affected. So this can be really helpful, you know, say if I'm sculpting around these eyes, but I did a lot of work here and I don't want that to be messed up. I can just mask it off really quickly and then just sculpt around it. Okay, and to clear it off, to clear a mask, you just control and click off of this character. If I click on the character while holding control, it'll actually blur the mask and smooth it out so it's not such a hard edge. Yeah, so you see it kind of smooths it out. You also have a masking pull-out down here, which gives you the same controls. You can blur mask, grow mask, etc. So masking is definitely, I use it all the time. It comes in handy. You can also, by holding Control and Alt, you can erase the mask. Or you can invert the mask. If I hold Control and then hit I, you invert the mask. So now I can only sculpt on what's white. So, quick way to get shapes. And then while holding Control, you can see right here my little drop down changes. So if I click that, you can see I have a bunch of different mask options, like a mask lasso, which basically allows you to draw like more complex shapes. So you can isolate specific areas really quickly. You can also use alpha to mask. So if I hold down here, go to drag, put an alpha on it, say that guy. So now you can do, and then if I wanted to give him some bumpies, see, really quickly. Okay, anyway, I am going to go back here. I'm going to mask these guys. Let me turn that off. And Control W. So now they turn blue. Then what I'll do is go to Subtool, and I'm going to split these guys. So I'll go down to Split, Group Split, I'll hit OK, and now you see they are multiple objects down here. So I can delete one of them, whichever one I don't want. So now I just have two. And I can make horns. So I'll show you how to do that. Oh, let me make sure I get the right one. I'll move them over here. And I'm going to turn symmetry on. So now you can see, turn polyframe off. I can move these guys independently wherever I want. And then I'll make some horns. Just by using the move tool, I can stretch them out. And then I can, there's a bunch of different ways you can do it. You can either just use the actual move brush. And then you can use like the pinch brush as well. And just pinch these ends. Yep. So you can make some quick horns. And then you can rotate them the same way. Yep. And then before you make any other horns, I recommend just go ahead and sculpt these guys out really quick, so that way when you duplicate them you already have nice sculpted horns. But let's look at the polys right now. So see, these were made from spheres, and ZBrush spheres always triangulate into this sharp point at the very top. That's not good, and I'll show you why. So see, if I try to like smooth this out, you see how it starts to pinch and it looks really weird. So what we're going to do, I'll show you another little trick. Instead of dynameshing them, we can use Z-remesher, which is one of ZBrush's new features. And it works completely with quads. It doesn't introduce any triangles into this mesh. So it's under Adapt. We have the target polygons as 5K. So we will just hit Z-remesher. The algorithm will calculate it into quads. So now it's nice and clean. We're at roughly 8,000, which is good enough. You can always drop it lower. So if I turn Adapt off and click this half and hit Z-remesher again, it's going to try to get it as close to 4,000 as possible. You can keep hitting it and bring it down like really low poly if you want. So see, the lower you get though, you'll end up getting like weird artifacts eventually, but this will be fine. We'll just keep it like that. Okay, so I will go ahead and divide these up a couple times. Let's go up 1 million. Turn polyframe off. Alright, so we can start sculpting these horns out. Actually, I'm going to drop it back down. I'm going to move them a little closer. Hold on. Let's solo it. So we'll widen them at the base a little bit more. Okay. There we go.
I don't know what that means. It freaked me out.
We'll make them a little longer. There we go. Alright. So for horns, I'll just do a quick pass at these. We don't have to get all crazy with them. Let's drop down. I'll just sculpt these out a little bit. And this is just the damn standard brush.
Okay.
We'll just do some.
So, are you sure it's okay?
Let's do some simple horns real quick.
Combining
We
two
don't do anything crazy.
variables in a varmar and putting that into a third variable definitely does a different fucking thing than combining.
Alright.
And if you're doing other
It's weird sculpting without music.
just by the way, we confirmed this happens and shouldn't happen.
Anyway.
No, it should. Oh. Because if you combine two and then add them to an array, you're adding an inner layer to that.
Okay. I'm just using the reverse of damn standard just to pop out some of these. And then what I'll do is I will use like a trim adaptive or trim dynamic to start giving me some more interesting shape. So it doesn't look so doughy. I'll show you how to do it. Hold on. So the trim brushes, we've got trim adaptive, trim dynamic. They're pretty good. I'll show you what they do. They start off with that really high intensity, so I always turn that down. Let me turn the subdivision level up. So you can see basically kind of flattens out some of these raised areas.
Yes, it basically this thing gets
Trim dynamic does the same thing.
Is an expression.
Just trim adaptive is a little more hardcore.
It gets evaluated down to a number. Although it is a number.
So again, I'm keeping it really loose strokes, really messy, because we're gonna add surface noise to it, and a lot of these like rough spots are gonna get washed out. So we keep it really messy and gross. Okay. You'll notice I use this brush all the time, especially when I'm doing like Viking weapons or something like that. And I want to keep it like kind of rough and.
That's fine for now, but it's ideally not what you want.
Okay. Alright. So that's fine for right now. I'll show you guys noise. Alright, so noise basically applies. I'll actually show you, it's easier than describing it. So you go to surface, click on noise. You'll see it pops up a little preview window. So by default it just puts this little grainy texture all across the surface. I have some that I've pre-made just by messing with these little settings. So you can get all kinds of different like stone, brick, patterns. You can use it for painting, texturing. You can introduce alphas into it. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do with it. So I have one that I have already made. Let's do this decay to work. So you can see this one kind of adds like this rough, gross texture. I might decrease the scale on it a little bit, and then I'll hit OK. We'll see what that looks like. Now it's very deep on this one. So once you hit apply to mesh to actually sink it in, it'll kind of lose some of that fidelity. So what I'll do is I'll click noise again and apply it one more time. And there you go. Now you can also control this noise. So before I apply it to the mesh, what I do is I can do a mask. So you can see everything that I mask doesn't get that noise. See that? I'll show you an example of this. So, say for this little stand, let me turn the subdivision up. Okay. So all of this stuff was made using just noise. All this mossy stuff. Basically just masking it out, applying a surface noise, and then some color to it. And there you go. Kind of breaks it up a little bit. So that's one example of using noise. Okay. I'll show you, and I'll do some other noise with this orange real quick. So let me apply this to the mesh roll right now. Apply to mesh. Apply to mesh. Okay. So now what we'll do, we'll add another noise to it just to roughen it up even more. And then I'll start re-sculpting these out a little bit better, and I'll wear down some of these areas. So for right now, we will just pick some spots. We'll do some thick kind of craziness towards the base here. That way it'll make the ends a little softer. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Now what I'll do, like I did before, just kind of messy it up as much as I can to make it. The hardest part about modeling is making something look like it's not man-made. Well, when you're doing organic stuff anyway. So it has to be messy and natural. Okay. Alright, so we have noise, mask, there we go. Okay. There we go. Alright, so we'll apply a noise to it. We can actually keep the same one, we can just turn the scale up and see what it looks like. Apply it to the mesh. Noise, apply it to the mesh. Let's see what that looks like. Did a little bit. Let's turn the strength. Go a little harder. There we go. So now we have it kind of rough at the ends here. Okay, and then I can go back in and start establishing some of these lines that I made earlier. You know. Let's turn the intensity up a little bit. Maybe too much. I'm going to change this material. I have a material that I made that I usually work with. There we go. Lets me see the depth a little bit better. Okay. And you can make your own materials. Basically, you can select one. Like say if I select this white, go up here to Material, Modifiers, and you can play around with all these sliders and completely make your own. So yeah, gives you all, and you can save them out as well. So that's basically what I did. I just made my own and use it to sculpt on. Okay, so see there's a lot of noise in here. It looks kind of cool, but it's a little too busy. Your eye needs some place to rest. So that's what we're gonna do. Let's try an H polish. So we're gonna like smooth out, some of these areas. especially like around the tip of the horn. You know, we want to make it look like this guy has been, you know, using his horns for battle, so they've been like worn down over time or something. I don't know. So this brush is just H polish. It just kind of helps clean stuff up a little bit, smooth things out. Okay. And then another cool thing about Zbrush is the ability to make changes on the fly really quickly. So say I present this to you know, everybody here, and they like it all, but they don't like the horns. They want to see something more interesting, maybe like some ridges or something like that. I don't have to start over. You can actually just keep going because you have all these subdivision levels. So if you need to smooth anything, you can smooth it. But like say if they wanted it to have more ridge, there's a really cool brush up here. It's kind of hidden away called /2. By default, it's cranked up to 31. I always turn it down. And then I always turn up my radial fade. Now, a radial fade is basically, it affects your alpha. So let me turn this off. So say I have this alpha here. It's a square. When I drag this out onto this guy, let me turn that on. You can see I see my square. I don't want that. So what this radial fade does is it basically blurs all that, so I get a more natural look. So that's radial fade. Another thing, since I'm on the topic of alphas, watch what happens if I crank this intensity up and try to draw this alpha on the tip of this horn. You can see it also affected the other side of this mesh. So if you're sculpting something like a cape or anything that's thin, like fingers or something, and you're putting an alpha on it, you want to make sure you go to Brush, go down to Auto Masking, and you want to turn on Back Face Mask. Okay, and basically once I draw that out, you can see it won't affect anything on the other side of your mesh. So that's helpful. Now, it's better to use alphas with Back Face Mask turned on before you apply noise. Reason being, if I start alphaing this out, you can see it starts giving me some weird artifacting here, and that's because there's so many little peaks and valleys going on with this surface noise that it's gonna interpolate the backs, like stuff that's hidden in these valleys, and kind of give you weirdness. So just be aware of that. All right. So quick save there. Let's polish this just a little bit more, and then we will go to this. We'll add some little bumpies down here at the bottom. That's too heavy. Maybe we'll do it in a lower subdivision. That's too low. Yeah. So again, the trick is just to be, you know, as loose as possible. Okay. And I'll crank this subdivision back up. Okay. Dragon duck. We can make a dragon duck if y'all want. Okay, so got got some basic horns. Drop down. So you can see, even though I've been sculpting high poly, I can still play with the silhouette. Like nothing in ZBrush is ever set in stone, which is one of the nice things about it. You're not, you know, obligated to maintaining one shape the entire thing, the entire time. So I can still play. But I always drop down into my lower subdivisions whenever I'm playing with silhouette. If I try to do it at a higher subdivision, you can start getting like weird lumps and stuff like that. So. Alright, that's fine for now. We've got horns, basic horns. We'll go to my move tool. I will duplicate these guys and we'll just bring them up or back, whichever you want. You can make a bunch of these. Go back to edit. And you can also scale them as well. He's like a happy goat guy. Yeah. Okay. Oh look, ZBrush crashed. Yay. Okay. So luckily, even though this crashed, I can see why it crashed because of quick save. 90% of these crashes happen because of quick save for some reason. It'll be saving and you just don't even know it's happening. You'll be drawing on the surface while it's saving, and so it'll cause an abnormal termination. So we will turn quick save off after this. So let me go ahead and hit OK, and then I will load ZBrush up again. And I'll show you where the recovered folder is as well. Okay, so the first thing I'll do is, instead of going to the recovered file folder, I'll click on this quick save one up here. The reason I'm doing that is just because it'll initialize ZBrush and save my material and all my subtools and stuff like that. So what I'll do is you just go to load tool. It'll automatically pop you up into this folder, the ZBrush R7 folder, into the tools. I'll go to ZBrush 4R7, go to recovered files, and there it is, recovered tool. Open that guy up. Okay, so here he is with our 4 horns. You see right down here, this is where you can go under the tool palette to toggle between your projects. So you can see this is our other one without the duplicated horns. We'll go ahead and delete that out. Just go to Subtool, delete all, hit yes, and then there it goes, it's gone. So we'll go back to this guy. Okay. So quick save, I will show you how to turn that off. Preferences, quick save. This maximum duration is pretty much all they give you, and it's in minutes. So apparently every 20 minutes it's supposed to quick save, but it feels like it's been quick saving like every 2 minutes. So we'll just crank it all the way up to 600 and see how it goes. I'll go ahead and save this guy out. Whenever you save a ZBrush file, you always want to be in your lowest subdivision level. So since I have more than one subtool, I basically go to all low, which is located in my subtool dropdown. So all low, and then you'll go up here to tool where it says save as. I'll just save it right to my desktop, and we'll just name it Dragon Head. Hit save, and there you go. And if I want to bring them all back to my high subdivisions, just click all high, and there you go. You can also name all of these layers if you want to. So I can name like back horns, front horns, eyes. To do that, you just click on one, hit rename, and then just type whatever you want it to be, eyes. Yeah, there's all kinds of little settings on these. Say if I was to paint on this guy, um, say if this guy was like fully painted and textured, and I wanted to just see my sculpt, you click this little paintbrush beside the eye, and that'll toggle your color on and off. So let me put it back to white just so you can see. So see, that'll toggle it on and off. If you just want to fill an object with color, like say I want to make him green, you go up here to color, fill object. So now he's completely green. And that's with RGB selected. If I want to change his material, like say I want him to be this chrome color, I go to M for material, color, fill object. And now he is green, well, metallic-y green. If you ever do this and you want to go back to just having a selection of whatever color you want, go to flat, material, color, and fill. And what that'll do is it'll basically clear it of all material. So whenever you hover around them, you get a preview of all these different materials you can choose from. So I don't want them to be green. So let's do RGB. There we go. Oh, y'all like my Stranger Things background? Season 2 confirmed. Okay. Alright, so we will make this guy look a little more dragony. Right now he looks more like a goat. So basically, let me drop down to a lower subdivision. We'll start messing with the silhouette a little bit. Get his cheekbones fixed. Okay. Fix that spot, smooth that out a little bit. Okay. Alright, so let's see if clay buildup will affect the other side. No, okay. Sometimes you'll have to turn back face mask on for certain spots as well, just to be safe. Say if I want to build his chin out. Okay. Start playing with this silhouette some. We can also start adding in, thinking about our teeth, like where we're going to start adding our teeth. So, let's see. Let's just go to sub. Turn it up a little bit. So we can start making some, actually, establish where the lips and the gums are. Okay. I can always make the gums a little wider if I want to. So see, I'm just keeping it real loose because I can always, you know, smooth this down a little bit. There we go. We'll pop these gums down past the lip. There we go. Turn the resolution up a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So these are just going to be where I'm placing the teeth. Maybe I can do one right there as well. Let's see. Yeah, posing in ZBrush, it's gotten better. You used to have to like mask a certain area and then try to move it with your transpose tools, but now you can just use the transpose master, which basically just draw an armature inside of it and use it like a puppet, which works okay, but it still has a few little issues. Okay. You can see how I went from working on the eyes to I got distracted with the horns, and then I got distracted with the teeth. And then I'll go back to the eyes eventually, but that's kind of what I was talking about, like just jumping to different parts of the sculpt. Let's see, let's get him. Actually, let's get him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Maya and 3ds Max are super expensive. I think they're like, how much is Maya? Like $2 or $3 grand?
Oh, I think the LT one is
You can get a
300.
student version for.
Yeah, student version?
We're looking at like
Yeah.
6, I think.
$6 grand?
Yeah.
God.
At least.
Yeah, compared to them, ZBrush is way cheaper. It's like $700.
Oh, but Maya now is more affordable.
Is it?
$300 a year for the LT one without the animation
You get the
tools.
subscription one, yeah.
Without the animation?
Just for modeling purposes, $300 a year.
Yeah. Still expensive. Out of my price range too. Okay.
You just use Blender. Yeah, that's what they're saying on chat.
Blender. Oh yeah.
Oh, Blender. I've never done Blender. Okay. We'll do the same thing down here. Okay. Might pop them a little more. Okay. Pirate InDesign. Okay. Great. There we go. Oh, what you saw, I just toggled the colors here by hitting V. So you see it turns anything that's not filled with color into the alternative of that. Which, while you're painting, if you hit Alt, it'll do the alternate color of this second one. So if I paint green and I hold Alt, it's going to do that black. So you can have multiple colors painting without having to constantly swap. Okay. So yeah, we'll do teeth and we'll do a tongue all separate. Let's go ahead and duplicate this guy. You can even squish them down some too.
I'm done with my things today. Tomorrow I'll do the.
Now we can like ground these horns. Let's might give him more of a forehead. Now with the teeth, I can actually take the horns and just kind of repurpose them so I don't have to make that shape again. So just rotate them. I'll rotate them again. Hold on. Let's move them away from each other. And then rotate them. Okay. Okay, now what I'll do, I don't want to keep this material and that sculpt stuff on these teeth because I want the teeth to be a little different. So what I'll do is I'll go down to geometry. I'll drop down, say that subdivision level. And then what I'll do is I'll just delete this higher subdivision level. So now that this is my highest sub-D. So what I can do, I can hold shift, I can turn the intensity down to like a 20 something, and then I can just smooth these out a little bit. So I still have a nice tooth shape, but now it's like a clear canvas, so I can sculpt on it how I like. So I will divide these up again. Okay, and then we will scale them and place them. So, easy peasy. It's okay. Right now, they don't really have an official beta release date, but yeah, still chipping away at it, so we'll see. They don't really tell me any of that information, to be honest, but they're making a lot of good progress. So yeah, their main thing is they just want to make sure they get everything right instead of like trying to rush, you know. So I wish more companies were like that, to be honest. I don't like those that curved. That's I'll go ahead and just do a quick sculpt on these really quickly. Let's just do a couple at the bottom here. So what I like to do, draw a line out and then just smooth it right at the tip, so it kind of gradually goes into that sharp and looks more natural. So I'll draw a line and just smooth it. Okay, that's fine. And we'll just add some simple noise to these. I won't do anything grody and complex. So noise, edit, open. I think I made a simple bone type one. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Just simple. Maybe I'll scale it a little bit. Let's just apply it and see what it looks like. Yeah, that's fine. Smooth out a couple of these spots. Okay, that's fine for right now. We can always tweak them later on if we need to. Oh man, when I first started ZBrush, dude, I was terrible. And I didn't have anybody to teach me, and at the time there wasn't that many tutorials on YouTube. So it was kind of like a trial and error kind of thing, you know? And it took forever. I'd corrupt files, I would just destroy meshes, and yeah, it was kind of a struggle. You guys got it easy nowadays, though. All you gotta do is just go to YouTube or something, um, which I do all the time still, so it never hurts. Always keep learning, you know. But yeah, my school didn't teach ZBrush. They just had 3ds Max, um, which was okay. Like I still use Max sometimes, like whenever we do a lot of UV stuff. Um, yeah. Okay. So if I want to make these longer, I just go to my move, and I'll just stretch them out. See, you can just kind of scale them that way. And then subtool, duplicate. Do those. I won't make them all uniform, so do. Alright, just keep going, keep making teeth. We'll do one more set and then we'll do molars or something. Okay. Let's curve these in a little bit. Another cool brush is called Snake Hook. I like to go to curve and then turn on AccuCurve with Snake Hook because it gives you a sharper point. But what it does is it basically will give you like a spike, like that. So if I wanted to do just a lot of quick little spikes around this guy, yeah, you can easily add them. So pretty cool. You could go all spike crazy if you wanted to. But
I just pushed my.
I might see if I can add some like little tiny teeth
So they have the same syntax.
shooting out of here.
There is, however, something that Varmont cannot do that the candy calculation. So
That's okay. Maybe not. Maybe I'll just add some extra objects in there. What I can do is use this to like emphasize the gums to make it look like they're actually wrapped around these teeth.
what do you think? A good, bad couple with
I might actually widen these a little bit.
making the so it's stuff happen. It's a trick. Okay.
editorial order of operations, at least. Assuming that's it.
I'm just trying to take one number and multiply it by another number and assign that to another number.
Okay. All right, I'll take a break from the teeth real quick, and we'll start sculpting out this guy some more.
There is a syntax that does it.
We'll do that.
I don't love using Varmont.
So let's use aliases in one line.
But anyway, the new syntax is updated.
Drop down to a lower sub-D. Hold on. So let me turn edit off. Control N. Draw a new one. Turn edit back on. Sorry. Sometimes if you accidentally turn edit off and then draw one out, like before, you'll just keep drawing them until you turn edit back on, and then you're just on this one guy, and the rest are kind of just stuck there. So what you do is you turn edit off, hit Control N, go ahead and draw your guy back out, turn edit back on, and there you go. It happens sometimes. Okay.
There might have been some limitations on LA8's being able to be put inside of other things, so. I think that's the real problem.
You think what's the problem?
LA8's inside of other LA8's. Like, it's useful, but it might be more.
I don't know. If it is useful, because isn't that why there are layers?
Yeah, well, I mean,
That's code for he just wants to do it. Because he hates it.
yeah, pretty much. I'm not sure I can think of any use cases for it.
Okay.
Um,
Start messing with these eyelids.
it does too much functionality. But I mean, it's like if you have a completely unrelated LAE that you actually want to evaluate and stick that in this layer. Like, basically where this happens is like weapon damage is an LAE, but you want to put that into damage.
Yeah, I do want that to happen. Basically, I just need a number. I don't need a layered arithmetic expression. I need a number. Well, just simple data type, right?
Modify that number ever with step on.
I want to be able to take that number and do math with it and put it into things.
Okay, so I'm just gonna.
And that's like where LAE on stacks really do a lot of good. So that I think is the best way to set it this time.
Like, I don't know what all your use cases are. The only thing that I'm trying to do is take the amount of damage that comes from the weapon, multiply it by some number, or I want this to do more damage than the weapon normally does, or less damage than the weapon normally does, and then do that amount of damage. Like, that's all I'm trying to do, and I can't figure out how to do it.
I'll keep going until 6 or 6:30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as you know they want to watch.
All sorts of other crazy shit.
Dion wants me to leave early. Everybody.
I want to go
This
for
is
a
what I'm trying
run.
to do right now.
Don't tell them that.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell them that. Y'all should hate Dion. She wants to end all of our
Man,
fun.
first you're trying to turn them against me.
I do. I'm such a troll.
Now Dion.
Into a rabbit hole. This?
Yeah, that.
That's what that does. Or that's what I hope that does.
Nah, we can't hate Dion. She wears Star Wars t-shirts.
Did you say again, troll?
I said we can't hate you because you wear awesome Star Wars t-shirts.
Okay, how, how do I take a number and call it something so that I can reference it from somewhere else without using it?
Are you feeling?
Your definition essentially, which is what they'll probably be renamed.
Okay, so how do I make this large block of things into aliases?
Okay.
Well, I start with but don't just use it.
I just use them, but there's a syntax for how I do it.
Yeah, instead of using a var mod list, you use an alias list.
Okay.
I mean, these are used elsewhere in code. Have examples of this.
Okay, well,
Projectile basic uses them, and other things set projectile basics. So like,
can I take variable to mean what it means in C#?
So you can see I'm in my highest subdivision and I'm starting to add some of these like little tiny details. You saw when I was step down lower, I start building up a lot of these landmark shapes, and then I bring up the subdivision and start doing my tiny details. So that's really the best way to approach ZBrush sculptures, or any sculpture really. You want to start low and work up.
Not mod, alias.
because they're not mod. So in that case, that goes there. Type name is good.
Just float.
Dynamic behavior. Look, and then source is 50.
Back.
Yes.
I want to change all of these to that.
Then back in your other file where you're using them
Okay, I might actually take
instead of dollars and $10 or
down a little bit.
Does it say alias list? Yeah.
this is where you're actually using them. You could use aliases there too, but
Should I? Because I'm doing the exact same
is this a number that you want to modify anywhere else ever? Because if you have a preparation variable, other things can modify that same preparation variable.
Yeah,
If you have a preparation alias, nothing else can touch it.
Yeah, we want to be able to change it.
So we want it to be a variable. Correct. Whatever it's not.
So this just is that. That's all.
Zoom into this guy.
And then I just slightly changed the syntax to be a little more.
What does it change to?
Preparation. After that,
Show you guys another cool little trick. So when it comes to doing like a smooth stroke,
or equals. The bar equals.
so I drew this out just freestyle. I mean,
So
it's
combine
a little rough.
set it to that.
If you really want a nice smooth stroke, go up here to the stroke menu, go to lazy mouse, and then click lazy mouse. And take this lazy radius slider, and you basically, I'd crank it up to like a 30-ish.
And there's not the same.
Why is it or?
Then when you draw it out, it actually gives you a little trail.
It's combining. It's combined. Take this value and combine this into it.
So this is good if you have to follow like a specific line, you know, or if you're making a design for like a shield or any kind of hard surface, whatever. You can quickly draw some nice kind of crazy design. and it keeps it from looking all, you know, sketchy and gross.
So what I really want is to eventually get this into the website.
Yeah, that's the part that I'm gonna work on.
That's the next part. So for now, I'm doing this.
But the point is, after that plus sign is
Yeah, don't worry, we're gonna sculpt out the cheekbones and the lip further.
It's just
Yeah.
here we're grabbing
Like I said, we're just
definition. Fuck it, I'm
getting
changing that
distracted by other things.
as a painting to the
Let me pump that a little bit. Yeah, like so for the cheek, we'll actually turn it down a little bit. Probably like start forming him out some. Got this muscle here. Probably pop that jaw out some too. Widen his jaw. Or her jaw. I don't know what kind of dragon this is. Whatever y'all want it to be. Maybe not that wide. Pink lips, huh? I'll consider it. Let's pop these nostrils out too. Oh, the Shrek dragon. Oh, and the donkey. That was disturbing. How does that even work? I think I want to know. sometimes. Alright, so you basically get the idea how to sculpt in ZBrush from a sphere. So what I'll do now that the vacuuming is over, I will show you the second way to sculpt in ZBrush. So what you do, go back to this S, and instead of hitting sphere, we'll go to Z-sphere. We'll draw it out. Hold on. Let me just clear everything away. Alright, we'll drag a Z-sphere out, turn edit on. So Z-spheres are a little different. This is how we make an armature. First thing I do is turn on X. And then I will go ahead and draw something, another Z-sphere. Okay, so then you can go to move, and you can basically move this around. And what it does is it'll create all these extra little spheres in between the two main spheres. So this is an easy way to quickly make like a full body person. So I'll show you. So we'll scale that down a little bit, move this up. I'll show you how to do it. We'll draw out some shoulders, do a body. Make a waist. And then we'll do the legs. Okay, so this is basically just making a armature wire, something to sculpt on. So in traditional sculpture, they make like an actual wire frame to hold the clay. That's kind of what this is. So I won't do any hands or really any feet, because I'll just do this quick tutorial for you. There, feet. Okay, so we have a person. So there's two things you can do. You can go down here under Adaptive Skin and hit Preview. So you can see that basically turned all those Z-spheres into workable geometry that we can then sculpt on really quickly. So if any of you guys have ever used any other 3D modeling programs like Max or Maya, just creating something like this alone would take you forever, you know. Whereas you saw I just whipped this out in just a few seconds. So this can easily get you a base mesh to work and sculpt on just lightning fast. I'll turn preview off. So that's one way you can make it. Another way, turn polyframe off. Another way you can work is by using Zsketch. If I turn Zsketch on, so you hit Edit Sketch. Now what I can do is draw. Let me change the material of this. I can draw on top of this armature by adding clay. So just like that. So sketch. So if I wanted to draw out like the muscle groups, you know, I can smooth them. So I can start drawing out like pecs and start isolating a lot of these muscles. So this is a pretty cool way to sculpt as well. Yep, you basically just want to cover this armature with this clay material. And you can control all these too, like if you want to move them around, you can move them. They also give you different brushes to choose from. So for instance, this one, like say if I want to do some wings or something, you know, you can draw off of the armature. They keep it really nice and easy. Bulge can basically like inflate certain areas or deflate. So if I wanted to skinny this up. Anyway, once you do this and you have your armature completely covered with this clay material and you have all your, your muscle groups or whatever isolated, what you do is you go to Unified Skin and hit Preview. So you can see all of the clay that I added there. You can turn up the divisions as well. So see? And then I can sculpt on top of that. So basically after you preview it, you hit Make Unified Skin, and then you need to go up and hit Make Polymesh 3D. And now I can actually sculpt on this and turn it into whatever I want, you know. So I'll go back down here to our Z-spheres. Yeah. Okay. I can turn Z-sketch off. So with the adaptive skin, if I just want the armature by itself, I make adaptive skin and then make Polymesh 3D. And now I can work on this as well. So really easy. So that's an alternative. You can either sculpt with the regular sphere and just start from there and Dynamesh, or you can use Z-spheres. I usually use Z-spheres when it comes to like full body sculpts, but not all the time. sometimes I'll just start from a sphere and then work from there. Just either way is pretty fast. Z-spheres are a little faster. But yeah, so that's another way to do it. Okay, let's load up our dragon guy again. Okay, I'm gonna make a tongue real quick. Let me turn symmetry on first. There we go. Can actually Yeah, I'll hold off on doing like the scales and stuff for right now. I'll probably approach that if I do another one of these. We can pick back up on this guy or girl. Alright, people, I'm gonna call it a day. Thank you for hanging out. Cool as always. So, hope you guys learned some stuff. But yeah, have a good night. Till next time.
Hot, streamy, summer. Get it? Streamy? Get the joke?
I get it.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
I know.
okay,
I was
okay.
okay.
What's on?
Scary dragon monster.
Scary something.
Looked almost like an alien.
Yeah.
Which I guess our dragons kind of are.
Once I put scales and stuff on it, it'll look cool.